What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Fit Women's Weekly Podcast. After last week's episode where I shared my 31-day carnivore challenge with you guys, I had a lot of interesting comments. I had a feeling that it would be a controversial topic, but it was something that I had experienced that I wanted to share with you guys. The good stuff, the bad stuff. But of course, I knew that some of the carnivore followers that are very, very passionate about it would come to my comments. And sure enough, they did, and I addressed everybody, but I did want to clarify a few things, and then I thought it would be interesting to jump into a little bit of all the previous quote-unquote fad diets that I've done over my time, over my life, because you'll see. I just think it's really interesting to break things down. So we're going to talk about my vegan experience. That's right. I've done the carnivore diet. I've done vegan. We have done macro counting. Let me, in fact, bring up my notes because I don't want to forget anything. I have done a raw diet. I have done keto diet. I have done the Fodmap diet. So I've experimented with a lot of different things over the years. So before we jump in, let me just go ahead and backtrack a little bit to my carnivore challenge from last month, from January, that I talked about in last week's episode. And there's a couple of things that I want to highlight for some people that maybe missed it. First off, I understand that when you're trying any type of diet, it takes time for your body to adjust. So 1 month isn't long enough to truly get an idea of how a diet is going to affect your body. And I talked about that in that episode, that this for me wasn't a way to experiment what the carnivore diet was like as a lifestyle. For me, this was a discipline challenge that Dan and I took on because he wanted to see if he could challenge himself to do something a little bit more severe with his diet because he's never done anything like that before. He wanted to do something hard. So it's kind of like people who go through those 30-day challenges where they're like, I'm going to run a mile every day, or I'm going to do Murph every day for a month. I've seen people do that. That's crazy to me. So he wanted to see if he could follow a carnivore-based diet for the entire month of January. And because I'm the supportive spouse that I am, I decided to do it with him. Plus, I had done carnivore before, so I knew what to expect. And that's why we had those quote-unquote 2 cheats throughout the challenge as well, because I knew that my body doesn't handle going completely animal-based because of my activity level and just how my body is made up. So that was the other thing that I quickly wanted to address. I did have a few people saying like, why do you keep calling it a cheat? All you did was an apple. Because I'm not talking about it as a cheat in the everyday sense that we talk about it when we're talking about diet, where it's like cookies and cakes are a cheat day, right? A cheat day meal. I was looking at it more of like, if you're looking at what carnivore diet is as a strict diet, it is 100% animal based. We were including 2 non-animal based things into our diet per day. So for a carnivore strict diet, those are cheats. So my cheats throughout that time was an apple and cucumber each day for at least most of the days. And then the third thing that I quickly wanted to address was that at no point was I bashing carnivore. In fact, I wouldn't do it if I thought it was complete nonsense or if I was completely opposed to it. I went into it and I talked about this during the episode. I guess some people just don't like to listen, and that's okay. That if you're interested in any type of nutrition challenge or fitness challenge or anything in your life, you do you. It is worth experimenting with so that you can see how something affects you, how it makes you feel. And then if at any time during that experiment, you learn that it doesn't make you feel very good, you can always change things up. But I actually do enjoy experimenting with my nutrition with these kind of things because it does help you to better understand your body. So anytime that we talk, especially in the fitness and health field, we're always saying things like, listen to your body, listen to your body. But a lot of people have a hard time deciphering what that actually means, right? So when you do these kind of challenges for yourself, it helps you to kind of get a little bit more in touch with your body so that you can listen to it a little bit easier. And that's why I do these things. So as far as some of the positive comments, thank you so much. You know, I shared some of the downfalls that I was experiencing, especially with my gut health. And a lot of people gave me some really great tips. I am absolutely taking those tips into my future with my diet because we are actually maintaining a little bit more of an animal-based diet, at least for February, most likely into March, where Monday through Friday we eat mostly carnivore, except with our cheats. And then on the weekends, we kind of let ourselves be a little bit more free and not so rigid so that we can kind of like enjoy life a little bit, because food is much more than just fuel. Food is life, and it's socializing, and the food choices that you make really do affect the other people around you. And I'll talk more about that in a second when I talk about some of the other challenges that I've done in the past. But we are moving on with more of an animal-based diet. I will be using the word animal-based instead of carnivore moving forward, because now that the carnivore challenge is over, now we're looking more into like, what does our lifestyle look? And our lifestyle can change. This is what we're doing right now. In a month from now, we might completely change it up a little bit more. But some of the biggest tips that people gave me was that I would most likely was eating too much lean meat, not getting enough fat into my diet. And that's why I was having the stomach issues of diarrhea and dark tar-like stools. So I am doing more fattier foods, more fattier meats. And yeah, I'm already feeling a lot better. I don't have to take the fiber medicine anymore, or the fiber pills, which some people had some words to say on that as well. But listen, when you're uncomfortable and you have to move your body for a living, I can't really be in pain or feel really disgusting when I have to show up with leggings and a sports bra on, right? I want to feel and I want to look my best. So those fiber pills really helped a lot through all of that stuff, but they are done now, and hopefully it is smooth sailing from here on out. But I just thought that this would be a really fun topic for me to go back and say, like, again, I'm not dissing any type of diet. These are the diets that I've done in the past, and this is why. And I'll kind of break down what I learned from each thing, because at the end of the day, all of these things that I've done to myself have been for learning purposes. One thing I will say, I would never have a client, I've been a nutrition coach now for over a decade, and I would never say or suggest to a client who comes to me who's just trying to clean up their diet, lose some weight, change their body composition, I'm never going to suggest, hey, you should do carnivore to do this. You should do the vegan diet to do this, because these are not weight loss methods. Those are lifestyle changes, and you have to have your own reason why. There are some benefits to each of those things. So again, if someone's interested in it, I will help support them. But I would also dig deep into wondering what their why was to see if it was a reason that actually is worth supporting it or not. Yeah, I'm never going to recommend it. I do believe that a full balanced diet is important that includes all the macronutrients of carbohydrates, fats, and protein, but it is my job to learn how those macronutrients affect our body, how we feel from them, and that's one of the main reasons that I enjoy doing these kind of challenges, but also so that I can support my clients if someone comes to me and like, I really, really want to give this a go. What can I do to get started? And just like me experimenting with my own diet, I would help a client if they want to experiment with theirs a little bit, but I'll also be the person on their shoulder when things aren't going right that says, okay, maybe this isn't for you, or we need to do XYZ in order to make it work a little bit better. The other thing that I really like about these kind of challenges, and one of the other reasons that I do them, is because to me, it's a fun way to get outside of your comfort zone and play with food a little bit more. If you are somebody that likes to get into the kitchen, you like to test recipes, you like to test how foods work and cook and different methods, then having these kind of, I don't know, rules helps you play a little bit more in the kitchen. That's just me personally. I look at it like an episode of Chopped. And again, I talked about this on the last episode, but it's kind of fun when you're like, I still want to enjoy food because I am a foodie at heart. How can I make sure that I'm still getting in delicious meals while I have to follow these rules, right? So it does make it a little bit more fun, and it helps me understand food science a little bit better too, of how ingredients come together to make up things at the end of the day. You know, it gets you outside your comfort zone, try new things, and put different ingredients together to see how they pair when they cook and their flavors, and that's really fun to me. So there's a little bit about the history. Now let's talk about the different things that I have actually done in my life. So I think my very first diet per se that I experimented with was in college. I actually did my senior thesis on the Atkins diet and ketosis. Atkins diet is just branding for a keto diet. It was kind of one of the original keto diets, just with a different name. And I did a 6-week study in college where I had 10 different subjects. A lot of my sorority sisters signed up. I had to actually go through our science board to make sure I could get this approved, since I was working with real human subjects, which at my campus was not something that was regularly done. But I had them go on the Atkins diet, and then I would get to test their ketone levels throughout the challenge to see how their body was going through ketosis to go through fat burning experience. So that was really, really cool, and I couldn't make them do it if I didn't do it as well. So I would say the Atkins diet was the first thing that I personally did as part of an experiment. So maybe that was the driving force through it all, right? It was literally a biology experiment that I did. And I can't really tell you how I felt through that at all. I don't really remember it very well, but I do remember that was like the first one. But the first thing that I actually did, where I was like, I want to experience this so that I can share with my clients or understand a little bit better how the body works and how the body feels, would have been my vegan diet. I did my vegan diet in my 20s, and I actually started it off as I think Dan and I had watched a documentary, and he said, why don't I stick with our normal diet? You stick to a vegan diet. We'll get our blood work done at the beginning, and then after 3 months, we'll retest our blood and see if anything changed. We had this idea of like, will our cholesterol levels change? Will my body composition change? Blood pressure, that kind of stuff. We wanted to see what the effects would be. And spoiler, because we were in our young 20s, we didn't have the time to go get our blood, or didn't have the money and the resources to get our blood tested. But that 3-month diet ended up lasting almost 2 years. I actually stuck to a vegan diet for nearly 2 years. And it's because once you get into a habit of something, it just makes it really easy to stick to. And so at that time, I started eating about 3 to 4 cups of vegetables a day. I would make sure that I was eating enough calorie wise, but I will say in that time, my personal body weight dropped down very low. I was about 108 pounds during my vegan diet. And at first I felt great. However, at this time I was also a really big runner, where I would run anywhere between 30 to 50 miles a week. And when you run, this is not something that a lot of people talk about, but you lose iron through your feet as you run. And because I was obviously in a very low iron diet, plant iron, stuff that you get from spinach, no matter how much spinach you eat, is very much different than animal-based iron. So my body wasn't able to break it down and actually hold on to that iron in my blood. So I became very anemic at the time. And after talking to a doctor, I could take a supplement and hope that my body was able to absorb it. Not all supplements are created equal, but for me personally, the doctor was like, I think that you would have a pretty good outcome from this. Or you can start eating in meat again. And my performance at that time was really important to me, as it is now, my physical fitness performance. And so I kind of figured, okay, even though I don't feel slow, it's kind of one of those things of you don't realize how badly you feel until you start feeling good again, right? And then you go, oh man, I was drained. I was really lethargic. So I decided if my body is clearly needing something I'm not getting from my diet, then I wanted to add those foods back in to my diet so I could start seeing if I could feel better again. So my first meal was actually venison, and it was delicious. And all of a sudden I became much more energetic. I became stronger. I was, over the next couple of months, I added on about 10 more pounds, which was needed. And my muscle mass started building up. And since then, I've made protein more of an important nutrient in my body, and my body composition has significantly changed over the past 10 years since I stopped being a vegan. And that comes, I'm not just saying that's because of the veganism. Obviously, I've made a lot of changes over the past 10 years, but there were significant improvements in my overall health when I personally stopped. So is that to say that no one should be vegan? No. Again, just like I always say, we are all created different. And though it wasn't a long-term solution for me at that time, because I didn't know how to make those things work at that age, there are tons of people now that are professional athletes that can maintain a vegan diet and their body is fantastic. It just takes a lot of effort, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. So that's where I was with that. On top of it, my body, because I was at such a low weight, and I think that I was very undernourished for several reasons, I also had quite a few injuries during my vegan time. I had a stress fracture in my foot. It was just kind of one thing back to back, but those things are most likely contributed to the low iron and just overall underfueling that I was doing, because it's very hard when you're running and you're exercising that much to try to get as many calories as you can when you're trying to stay so tight to a real food vegan diet. So that was my experience from it. But I did want to head over to Google real fast and just kind of see what AI had to say of what are the benefits of being on a vegan diet. And vegan diet, which excludes all animal products, offers several potential health benefits, which I'm not bashing any type of nutrition if this works for you. But some of the improvement or benefits you can get are reduced risk of chronic diseases like heart health, lower intake of saturated and cholesterol, reduces the risk of heart disease. Most of that is for people who have a family history or a genetic component of high cholesterol, because eating foods high in cholesterol, we now know, do not contribute to actually having high cholesterol unless you have some sort of genetic predisposition to it. Diabetes, lower consumption of processed foods and sugary drinks helps regulate your blood sugar. So again, that's not necessarily 100% contributed to having a vegan diet, but if you are eating a strict vegan diet, chances are you are not eating processed foods and high sugary foods. And cancer, reduced intake of red and processed meats lowers the risk of certain types of cancer. And that was the main one that I wanted to share with that. Next up that I did was carnivore diet. We've already talked about this. I've already talked about the why in the past, but so I'm not going to go into all the detail on that one today. But I will say one thing that I did not share last week that maybe I should have was some of the benefits that are possible from having a carnivore diet. Weight loss, enhanced mental clarity, autoimmune disease management, and better sleep, which I did talk about, increased energy levels for some people, mostly because you're going into a ketosis and because eating a high fat diet, fat is very high in calories. It's 9 grams of calories per 1 ounce, and that is significant compared to 4 calories per gram per gram of carbohydrates and protein. So yeah, you're going to have higher energy because you're getting more calories. Blood sugar management, especially in insulin control, gut health. What does it say? There are anecdotal reports that through improving gut health, the carnivore diet is able to relieve symptoms and potentially cure chronic conditions. So there's that. Easy meal planning. Yeah, you're just slapping on a chunk of meat each day. I will say our meals are faster when they're coming out, and yeah, we have a freezer. I say, what cut of meat do we want today? And we plan it out. Diabetes, which I had already talked about because of blood sugar management, simplified dieting, decreased inflammation. I did talk about that as well. Decreased inflammation. Eating only meat can lower inflammation in your body. Carnivore diet omits sugar and inflammatory vegetables. Fewer digestive issues, which for me wasn't the issue, but that was my fault. May cause fewer digestive issues. Fiber is a carbohydrate that the body cannot digest, and stomach bacteria breaks down fiber, which can cause bloating, gas, bowel issues. So yes, improved insulin sensitivity, which goes back to helping diabetes and blood sugar management. And let's see, it says no worry about cholesterol. No worry about cholesterol. Good, more effective sleep, no more brain fog or depression, no sunburn, and no constipation. I would like to do a little bit more research on the no sunburn. That's very interesting. So those are some of the benefits from the carnivore diet that I'm sorry I did not list out last week. I should have. And then some of the other diets that I've also done before, benefits of a keto diet. When keto was super popular about 5 years ago, I did a 3-month. I do try to stick when I am experimenting with a diet and I'm truly experimenting to see how my body will react. I do try to stick to something for at least 3 months time. So you'll see that continuously come up, me saying, I did this for 3 months. I did this for 3 months. And the keto diet was no different. Really, the keto diet is not very different from the carnivore diet. So I feel like if there is a pyramid, then you would have the keto diet at the bottom and then the carnivore above it, whereas the carnivore is just is a more strict version of keto. But the whole idea is to cut our carbohydrates very low, have a more higher fat intake so that our body then goes into something called ketosis, where normally our brain runs off of carbohydrates. But if you're not taking in carbohydrates, then obviously that's hard for your brain to run off of it. So in order for it to get its fuel, it needs ketones. And so you are able to break down your macronutrients into ketosis in order to help get ketones into your body, and then your brain uses that for its energy source. And some people do great off of being on a keto diet, some people don't. I actually felt pretty decent on a keto diet, but it was again one of those things that you kind of start to adjust to something and you feel great until all of a sudden you start implementing a few other things into your nutrition and go, oh, maybe I didn't. And with a keto diet, I did start to feel tired towards the end. But overall, it really came down to, I only did it for 3 months, and really it came down to just having at that time such a stringent rule on my nutrition. But some of the benefits of a keto diet include weight loss. That's the main thing, because your body is breaking down its fat to build those ketones. The keto diet can promote weight loss by reducing appetite and increasing satiety. Such a hard word for me to say. This is because the body burns fat for energy instead of carbohydrates. Improved blood sugar control. The keto diet can help improve blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes by reducing insulin resistance and lowering glucose levels. Reduce seizures and epilepsy. This is actually why the keto diet was first created to begin with, for epilepsy. The keto diet has been shown to effectively reduce seizures in some children and adults with epilepsy. Improved heart health. The keto diet can improve heart health by lowering triglycerides, cholesterol, and blood pressure for most people. Again, there's that small percentage of people who, if you are predisposed to high cholesterol, then that might not have the same effect on you. So if this is something that you are interested in trying, make sure to talk to your doctor first. Enhance cognitive function. Some studies suggest that the keto diet may improve cognitive function and memory, particularly in people with Alzheimer's. I've always found that interesting, or also people with strokes or Parkinson's disease. So definitely something to consider. But all of this to say is that all diets, if you are to research them, are going to have some sort of benefit related to them. The important thing to look at it is just try to remember that this is not a fad diet that you're just going to do just because you want to lose weight. If you're going into it as just a 4-week or a 3-week, or I'm sorry, a 4-week or a 3-month test to lose weight, and then you plan on getting off of it immediately, you're not going to be able to keep the results that you want. If you have some sort of health condition that you're trying to get under control, you're trying to learn your body a little bit better, then maybe one of these things can work for you. Nutrition is not black or white in any means, and that's at the heart of it why I continuously try these things, so that I can share the experience with you guys. And then the last big nutrition challenge that I've tried I've had 2. Fodmap, which I actually basically did last week, which just means a very basic diet of simple carbohydrates like grains. I basically stuck to rice, and easy to digest fruits and vegetables like bananas and grapes, and trying to stay away from some of the fruits that are a little harder to break down, or the starchy vegetables that are hard to break down. So that is, I think, kind of helped me reset my gut a little bit, and that's why I'm feeling better now. But then the other one that I have done for a longer period of time, actually much longer than 3 months at a time, is macro counting. And I don't think that macro counting is actually considered a fad diet, but it is a way of looking at your nutrition, so I wanted to include it here. Macro diet just is a fancy way for keeping track of your food. It's tracking your nutrition, counting your calories, but also focusing not just on calories, but the type of calories that you're getting. You're trying to aim for a specific amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fats, so that you can learn to intuitively eat down for the long run, but also be able to hit your goals in a specific way. So if you are trying to lose weight, you're trying to change your body composition, macro counting is actually really, really important because we want to make sure that we're hitting certain ratios of your macronutrients, those things that I just chatted about, so that you can not only hit the goals that you want to do with your weight loss, but feel your best when doing them and be able to eat as much as you can. Being in a caloric deficit when you're trying to lose weight isn't fun. So we want to make sure that you're at the highest part of your calories while still in a deficit so that you do feel fuller longer. And we want to make sure that the type of calories that we're getting are also setting you up for success. If you're trying to be in a caloric deficit and you're eating, let's say 1,700 calories each day, eating 1,700 calories of Oreos versus 1,700 calories of chicken thighs and ground meat are going to have different effects on you. You're still going to lose weight because you're in a deficit, but the 1,700 calories of Oreos is going to leave you pretty miserable throughout the day because those are just simple carbohydrates, which gets burnt down very, very quickly. And when your food is digested quickly, that means that that deficit is going to leave you in a hungrier state, right? You're going to have those periods throughout the day. You're like, oh my God, I'm ravenous. I need to eat now. And it's going to set you up for failure in the long run. Whereas if you're making sure that those 1,700 calories that you're eating are satiating, right? Because protein and good quality high fats are a satiating food source, then you're not going to get those hunger cues throughout the day. And that means that you're most likely going to be able to stick to your deficit long enough to actually be able to hit your goals. And you're going to learn a little bit more about your body. You're going to learn, okay, because I'm a big believer. I do believe in eating intuitively, but in today's society, if you don't understand what a balanced nutrition program looks for you, then it's very hard to eat intuitively. Otherwise, you're just going, well, my body says that I need sugar, right? So we have to retrain our body to see what intuitive eating means for us individually before we can just hit the ground running without any sort of tracking. So macro definitely has its place in your nutrition. I've been macro counting. I do it every couple of months. I don't do it on the long run because, again, I do think that intuitive eating is important. But if I go through a period, let's say the holidays, where I might overindulge time and time again, and so I'm kind of resetting what my body is craving. If you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to crave a lot of sugar. Then I'll go back to counting macros for a couple of weeks or a couple of months just to kind of reset myself, understand what my days should look like in order to hit my goals to feel my best, and then I can stop tracking. So that's where macro counting comes from me. As far as what AI has to say about it, it says counting macros or macronutrients helps you to understand how food affects your body and how to reach your health goals. AI and I sometimes are like this, right? Understanding your calorie sources, counting macros can help you understand where your calories come from and how they affect your body. Counting macros can help you understand the nutrient density of the food and make you more aware of what you're eating. Absolutely. I think that that's really a great way too to look at it. It's understanding what your habits are. And you might be able to look back at that and go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I have been snacking so much that equates to a whole extra meal. And if I just cut back on my snacking, I'll already be on my deficit. Or you might realize, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I'm only getting 50 grams of protein a day, but 150 grams of fat, which that would be really bad. You probably wouldn't feel very good with those kind of ratios. And becoming more self-aware. Counting your macros helps you identify your body's unique needs and adapts to them. And it also helps you fit treats into your daily goal. And I think that's really important too, because like I said, food is much more than just how to fuel yourself. We still deserve to enjoy the food that we eat, and you can still eat what you want and make sure that you're adding what you need to each day. So if you really are craving a cookie, you can still have that cookie, but it'll help you kind of move your macros throughout the day so that you're still hitting what your body needs while you can still enjoy the things that you want in your day. So there you go, you guys. Those are the different diets that I have done over the years. If you have any questions or if you have comments, please let me know. And I highly recommend going back and listening to last week's episode if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts. And if there is another nutrition challenge that I should take on, I'd love to hear. What do you guys think? Last but not least, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that button right now. It really does make a really big difference for us and helping more people find the Fit Women's Weekly podcast. And make sure to hit that like button. If you're listening to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. I put out 2 audio podcasts per week. So even if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe go check out the podcast on audio form on Fridays. And then the last thing that I want to mention is March 3rd is right around the corner. That is my next 30-day Ignite challenge. If you are stuck in a workout rut, the workouts that you're doing just aren't working, guess what? They're not all of a sudden going to start working. It's time for a change. So if you need a little help with your workouts and with your nutrition, join me for the Ignite 30 challenge, 30 days of personalized workouts. You're going to get nutrition challenges. You're going to get fit quickies. And if you don't know what that is, maybe you're intrigued, go find out more about the challenge. It starts March 3rd, but registration is open now. Spots are limited. And if you miss out on the opportunity because spots are full, I won't be able to open up more spots. They are what they are. So definitely go check it out. Go grab your spot, and hopefully I will see you March 3rd for the Ignite challenge. Thanks, guys.